Okay, it's Cinco de Mayo, and this fellow's ready to go out, and it's very sudsy beer he's got. Okay, the story time for boys and girls is all about Uncle Rumpel. Uncle Rumpel is a little elf who lives mostly in dark caves. He used to like to go bashing, crashing, and thrashing through thickets. That's heavy bush country. And when he was very small, he considered becoming a dentist. But then he watched Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and saw there was already an elf that was a dentist, and then he kind of lost interest. Rumpel's mother was not an elf, she was an elephant. And his father was a bullfighter. Now, it's very strange because bullfighting is quite often frowned upon by certain commentators. No one says Stuart Wilde, the metaphysical guy. And Rumpel got rather offended when Stuart Wilde said that the ancient tradition of bullfighting in Spain and Latin places should be banned because, well, the bull gets killed. Because Rumpel is very much of the idea that it is a fair fight. And if you look in history, you will see that bullfighters sometimes get gored by the horns of a bull, and sometimes they die. Anyways, Rumpel's father was a bullfighter, and there's no records because this was long, long ago in the past. And in the end, he kind of agrees that today, perhaps, well, he doesn't know what to do. I mean, he agrees it's very bloody and kind of horrible. But, it's his family lineage, and he tries to keep up traditions, and it's, well. Anyway, he wants to tell you that his mother, the elephant, was more or less in her prime, and she gave birth to triplets. And Rumpel is therefore a triplet. His other siblings are not to be mentioned at the current time. Most people think Rumpelstiltskin is a more or less possessed being because on Once Upon a Time, the TV show, he is possessed. From time to time, I am told I am too loud. How is it that if I'm away down the basement and somebody is upstairs watching television that I am too loud? It's not possible, but this is what I have to live with. Story time for girls and boys continues on a later date. If you want to learn more about Rumpelstiltskin, don't watch Once Upon a Time. It is all phony baloney. The real Rumpelstiltskin has nothing to do with Robert Carlyle and nothing to do with Storybrooke name. Storybrooke name. Storybook name. Storybrooke name. Storybook name. There's a place in Maine that's called Storybrooke in Once Upon a Time, and Rumpelstiltskin says, I'm not there. It has nothing to do with me. It was someone else's fantasy, and I've never been involved with Once Upon a Time. That is your introduction to stories for... Wait a minute. Now he's going back to the beginning, and he says, Uncle Rumpel was a porcupine before he became a elf. And as a porcupine, he learned to be prickly, to keep people away who wanted to hurt him. If you consider that the porcupine's prickly nature is simply defensive, you don't mind them. They're actually very cute. I think that you'd have to be very gentle and be very careful if you were going to pet them. I don't know if they let you pet them. Rumpel says most people would never pet a porcupine any more than they would pet a scorpion. But there are odd people that have got curiosities. We're thinking of who was the guy in Australia? He was the crocodile hunter or something. And he went out of his way to interact with dangerous creatures. And in the end, they ended the show. They said that he had been out diving somewhere off the Great Barrier Reef and he got stabbed by some kind of a skate or a ray and right in the heart, and it killed him. Story time for girls and boys could be a continuing series, and I'm your host. And I don't know what name I'm going to use. No, they were trying to say you should be Mr. Rogers, but there already was a Mr. Rogers. Well, just call me the storyteller of stories for girls and boys. Anything else Mr. Rumpelstiltskin wants to tell you will be in another story. There's a bunch of other people who want to tell their stories on Story Times for Girls and Boys, and I've only got 10 minutes to get a Instagram TV for you, and I think we're pretty close to the end. Commentary is never allowed because people never seem to stop commenting. But if you want to comment on this video or any of my other videos, please do so. Sometimes I go blank and I'm not quite sure what I'm going to say. And that is like, if you're playing music and then they've got that. What's that thing in music? It's a funny symbol. I think it's like a Z almost, and it means like a full pause or something. And sometimes I go into full pause mode and people are wondering what's going on in my head. Sometimes the cosmic characters are talking. Sometimes it's completely peaceful. I rarely talk in my own head. It's always other characters that talk. And being the storyteller, I relay what they tell me, more or less. Thank you for watching Storytime for Boys and Girls. I am Frank T. I guess I'm Frank T. Thanks.